Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of one2Football here on powered4.tv. I'm your host, John Scott, and I'm back with, I've got to say, last night was fantastic. It was great to see fans. It was good to see the season underway. Obviously, if you're waking up, you're an Arsenal fan, you're going to be miserable. I'm not going to lie. So I'm not going to add any more to that. I think the performance said a lot about what we can expect. I think from both teams going forward at the moment. Obviously, the transfer window is open. Going to be talking about transfers. Going to be talking about last night's game and previewing some of today's games as well. Because at last we actually have some 3 p.m. kickoffs that all take place at once, and I've kind of missed that because obviously during the whole pandemic we have been somewhat, I don't know, like spoiled, where we've had so much football on television, like one game after another, that I kind of almost feel like I started to get a little bit bored of it, if I'm honest. So I'm kind of happy that we've gone back to 3 p.m. kickoffs and they're all taking place at the same time, that we've got fans back in the stadium. But only one place to start, and that has got to be last night's game. And I've put this on the headline. You'll see it from the banner as well. Brentford buzzing from last night. The Bees themselves. I said yesterday on my first show that I said to watch out for players like Rico Henry, and obviously Ivan Toney was the main player everyone was talking about. But I've got to say, the whole team, the way they were playing, so good. I mean, not just... A lot of people were probably I've seen a lot of stuff this morning where everyone's comparing them to Leeds, but I think they're a little bit different to Leeds, because although they have the high pressing game as part of their tactic, what they also have is the ability to go, right, okay, if we can't work the ball out from the back, we'll just boot the thing up to Ivan Toney and we'll work off him. So they play very well, to the fact that I think, like, I've got to say, Arsenal defenders last night, they got run amok. They really did. They got run amok because they looked very average. And I don't know. You tell me, and I'd love to know this from any supporter out there. Is Ben White, on last night's performance, is he going to be worth that 50 million tag? Which I know is unfair because it's not, it's not up to him what his valuation is. But is he worth that 50 million that they've spent for these kind of errors that we saw a lot of last night to be sorted out? I'm kind of... I don't know. He looked a little bit weak to me, like his strength wasn't there. That throwing business was fantastic. It brought me back to Stoke. I don't know what you guys think, but it was like the Rory Delap again had come back to the Premier League. You see the towel, you see him wiping the ball, you see the big throw. I tell you what, it's simplistic, but it's effective. It is so effective. I know Mikel Arteta, after the game, he blames, like he felt that was... the goalkeeper was being held back and all the rest of it. But I don't know. I heard Gary Neville after the game, and he said, good goalkeepers like Ederson and, Peter Schmeichel that he played with, they had just knocked the defender out of the way and got the ball. I mean, they wouldn't have taken any prisoners. So, yeah, it's a hard one. I'll tell you what, though, a lot of teams, they would have seen that last night, and they'd probably be thinking, hang on, maybe... not normally it's our game to have these crazy throw-ins, but maybe we'll test it against Arsenal because it seems so easy. I can really see it happening. I really can. Anyway, lots of stuff to talk about. Loads of transfer news coming in as well. Going to get to that very shortly. Just say hello to a few of the people watching on YouTube. Got Brett. Hi, buddy. How you doing? And he's also saying liked Brentford a lot. I think they're probably going to be most supporters' second team, I would imagine, this season. One really interesting thing I just want to point out about Brentford, and I heard it, Martin Tyler talk about it with Jamie Carragher whilst the game was going on, and I did know about it, but I'd kind of forgot. It's the fact they don't have a quote-unquote youth system. They kind of don't want to do it, and the reason they don't have one, quite rightly in a lot of ways, I mean, it makes perfect sense, is the fact that these big elite clubs, or any of the Premier League clubs really, they can just dive in, pick out what players they want from the academy. And take them, and clubs like Brentford, when they're really lower down in the leagues, they don't get any compensation. So they said to themselves, "Show what, we're not going to do this academy stuff. We're not going to do the youth policy system. We're going to just have our team playing competitive friendlies, for the youngsters every week against in the men's league. They're playing up against men. They're not playing other youth. I think it's quite a good idea. I mean, I can see a lot of other clubs pouncing on this, because now you see Brentford in the Premier League. It's like, well, a lot of other clubs beneath them are probably going to be scratching their head thinking, hang on, why don't we do that? Instead of seeing our players just get picked up one by one, cherry picked by the big clubs, why not do what Brentford are doing with their youth system and just basically don't play in it? Just have our own thing going on. It seems to make the most sense to me, and I'm surprised a lot of other clubs haven't sort of gone with that flow. But very interesting there to see what they're doing. Going to have the games going on. What's happening? Obviously today, like I said, loads of 3 p.m. kickoffs, which is really cool. I think it's that time to obviously dive into the transfer latest. Obviously, whilst this is open, this transfer latest stuff, honestly, it comes in like so fast, so frantic that stuff can come up all the time. So what I'm reading at the moment that's just coming in, I'm just looking at the time, is that Roma are still confident over Abraham. Apparently this is it's been ongoing now, reported around 45 million euros for this deal. Obviously Jose Mourinho has spoke to Tammy Abraham. He's had representatives from Roma fly over to talk to him. And the thing is, Tammy's an Arsenal fan by all accounts, so he wants to stay in London. He wants to play for his club that he supported as a kid. But at the moment, as it stands, Arsenal, they're not willing to go to the set price. So it's very difficult. However, following on from that, what we did find out this morning, which is kind of crazy, really, given everything we've heard, is that Arsenal are willing to sell striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang just after a year, after the most craziest lucrative deal. Like, they put him on this heavy contract. Now they want to sell him. Honestly, I don't like to pounce on Arsenal, because they are, obviously, I'm a Spurs fan and people will think I'm pounding on them, but like, honestly, I just think the way the club's run is pretty bad. I mean, I don't know who's responsible. The thing is, everyone can point Stan Kroenke, because like he's the head of the castle. But like, also, what is Edu doing? I mean, what's he doing behind the scenes? A lot of Arsenal fans I know, they're telling me he's on holiday at the moment. And meanwhile, like whenever I see Spurs, the new director of football, he's always like, he's got 3 phones on him, he's got an earpiece on him, he's wheeling and dealing like 24/7, probably in his sleep. Meanwhile, you've seen pictures of Edu on holiday, so I don't think that's going down too well, quite frankly. And now, obviously, Aubameyang apparently out up for sale. Now, obviously, he was left out last night. They said he was unwell, was the reason. Now, is he unwell? Do they not want to just play him just in case he gets injured? That kind of thing. If they want to sell him, why would you do that? Now, it looks to me like they need to raise money. Aubameyang, I mean, I've got to be honest with you, he's on a massive contract, so he's on big wages. Arsenal are going to want way more than probably what they're going to get, quite frankly. His valuation, I mean, I don't know. What you tell me in the comments, like, how much would you be willing to spend on Aubameyang? If you're a club that hasn't got like maybe a big quality striker and you want Aubameyang in, how much would you be willing to spend? I mean, I don't think at his age it's going to be what they're going after, and obviously they want to raise money for maybe some other signings. We heard yesterday Odegaard was back on the radar for them, and he's costing around 35 to 40 million. I don't know if that's all going to be up front, but Real Madrid will certainly want as much of it as they can because they're in, absolute catastrophic times financially. So obviously they're either trying to raise money for Tammy by getting Aubameyang out. I think most Arsenal fans would have thought, hang on, why don't we just have both of them? But it seems like they've got to ship players out now. And I didn't see this one coming because I thought after last year they were very happy, which is another reason why I'm questioning why on earth they've re-signed Xhaka after it seemed like he was going to Roma. But because Roma didn't cough up the money, we'll put him on a new contract. It's pretty crazy, really. Obviously, Lacazette is he's got 1 year left on his deal, so they need to get him out as well. It's very frightening at the moment. I think what's going on there. I do have slight sympathy for my rivals because I just think the club's run so poorly. Mikel Arteta, do you put the blame on him for his tactics last night? A lot of Arsenal fans saying he needs to go. A few others saying 10 games and he'll be gone. I don't know. Because to me, the way Arsenal is set up, they're not going to bring in a manager who's going to basically throw his weight around and say stuff publicly because the board will not want that. They're going to want somebody like an Arteta again, quite frankly. So, I don't know. Would you just be replacing somebody, like for like? Let's stay now with the paper talk today. West Ham, apparently, according to the Daily Mail, will not let Declan Rice leave for less than 100 million Manchester City paid for Jack Grealish. Now, I said this yesterday. I threw this question out. I said, would you rather have 2 Ben Whites, okay, amounting to 100 million, or would you have 1 Jack Grealish for 100 million? And think about that. 2 Ben Whites or 1 Jack Grealish. Well, obviously, West Ham, they've seen the Ben White deal as well. And they're thinking, okay, we've got Declan Rice. He's a little bit younger. He's probably more established in the England national team than what Ben White is. We've seen Jack Grealish go for 100 million. Declan Rice played more games than him in the Euros as well. We'll have 100 million as well. We'll chuck that valuation in. Now, I don't really think Declan Rice is at the level of a Jack Grealish personally. I'm not saying he couldn't evolve into that, but 100 million might be a bit much. However, I don't think they're far off of, say, 70 or 80 million, quite frankly, for Declan Rice because, the way the market is, especially in the Premier League. So this is why I'm saying it's having a bit of a ripple effect. And then it sort of ripples even towards Harry Kane's situation with Daniel Levy, because he must be thinking, well, okay, if Declan Rice is 100 million, how much is Harry Kane in this modern market? It's crazy. So very interesting. Speaking of Harry Kane, according to the Daily Mail, he of course he's available for Tottenham's season opener against his so-called suitors Manchester City, despite the potential of putting his move at risk. And I said this yesterday, it's going to be so fascinating. I'll talk more about that tomorrow on the preview of the game, but it's going to be really fascinating. So many layers. Does Harry Kane start? Does he not start? Would you start him? Oh, mate, there's so much to it, honestly. Leicester City are refusing to budge on their 60 million transfer valuation for Arsenal target James Maddison. It's, again, from Arsenal have been all over him most of the summer. However, I think their attention's probably moved on to Odegaard now. I think they've realised that, we haven't got a cat and L's chance of signing someone like Maddison at the moment, especially if they need to raise money here, there and everywhere. I don't see them coughing up 60 million, quite frankly, for James Maddison. I could be wrong. Let's face it, they paid 70 million for Pepe a couple of seasons ago, and look where that's gone. I'm going to throw a few comments in here. Got some good ones. I've got Aaron. Nice. Thanks for watching, buddy. With Arsenal missing out on European football, they will obviously be missing out on a lot of money. They will hope to regain. But yeah, I totally agree with you by that. I mean, I can see why they're doing it, but why haven't they? My question is, why didn't they do this a lot earlier? Why isn't Aubameyang available 3-4 weeks ago? Why is it the day after their first game that we're now hearing reports that he's going to have to go on the list? I'm kind of like scratching my head thinking like, who's planning this? Who's looking at the budget sheet and thinking, how are we going to get these moves done? Now we need to move established players out that we only just put on a contract. So very, very interesting. And also, Aaron, good stuff here. I know they will have been linked with the likes of Maddison and spent big for Ben White, but I actually don't think they have the funds, especially with the wages that Aubameyang is keep on. Yeah, well, this goes back as well, Aaron, like to stuff around like Mesut Ozil as well. Like we saw that a long time ago, where that was a similar thing. And look how all that ended. I mean, it was a right mess. And I think that, it took so long to get him out the door, and Arteta, the manager, wasn't really involved. Well, was he involved? I mean, who knows what's going on behind the scenes? And lastly, Aaron saying, I would say they want 50 million for him, but we'll get about 35 to 40. I think you're being very generous, Aaron. I really do. I think you're being generous. I don't know. I mean, I suppose, yeah, you might be right. I mean, if there's the problem is the European clubs like Inter Milan, Juventus, all this lot, they ain't going to go in for Aubameyang. Alexis Sanchez went to Inter Milan on ridiculous wages, a few years back when Man United needed him off the books. But I said this yesterday, Inter Milan sell Romelu Lukaku for £97.5 million, the Italian champions, and then they go after Dzeko for £1 million, a 35-year-old striker. That is where we're at the moment with Italy and their finances. And I think Spain is just as bad. So I don't see anybody from Spain. I don't see obviously none of the elite clubs are going to go in for him. And I don't see like clubs like Seville or anything like that having the funds to pay Aubameyang's wages, if anything, either. And maybe even the funds to pay. So you're almost saying to yourself, where is the market for him to come in? Like, would it be a Roma? Would Jose Mourinho want him? I kind of feel not, because I think Mourinho wants somebody a bit younger. But I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, like you'd have to almost look at England as being the place of origin that he'd have to go to, and I can't see it myself. Sticking with the great newspapers that we have in this country, just follow football and rumours like anything like wrestling that we cover here. This is a whole different ball game. Real Madrid, according to the Sun newspaper, are ready to make a final 102 million offer for Paris Saint-Germain, Kylian Mbappe, but we'll wait until next summer to sign him for free if it's not accepted. I mean, wow. You talk about, we're throwing out these numbers like they're nothing, but 102 million, obviously, Mbappe went for crazy money to Paris, but he does only have 1 year left on his contract. So it's like, I don't know, Paris Saint-Germain, they're living in the dream at the moment, because they've got they've got like FIFA-like strikers. It's like playing Football Manager. It's like, okay, who can I have? I want Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, just top me head. And that's what they've got. Potentially for 1 year, that's what they've got. I don't know. They might, I said this yesterday, they might just want to go for it for one season and then be like, okay, now we've ticked that off. I think they want the Champions League. That's the main priority. But like, I don't know. It's do they cut their losses and get 100 million? I don't know. I mean, what's more valuable at the moment? If I was them, I'd be trying to keep him. But apparently that is what's on the table for him. David Luiz, now we spoke about him a little bit yesterday, says he is not ready to call time on his Premier League career following Arsenal exit. Well, I don't know who's going to be picking up David Luiz, but perhaps we'll see over the next couple of weeks. Somebody will take him on again. Unless he's willing to drop some serious wages, I kind of feel like it would be a hard get to to want to be able to get him anyway. I'm just looking here, seeing if there's any more news on the transfers. Let's go down. Star now, the Daily Star. Pep Guardiola has delayed Manchester City's pre-season vote on team captains. The club continues to pursue, obviously, Tottenham and England skipper Harry Kane. That's interesting, isn't it, that they do their captains by vote? I never knew that. I obviously like completely lost that idea happened under Pep Guardiola. Like I'm guessing that's what he does at all these clubs, that they have a vote and that's who gets it. It's kind of very strange, but yeah, maybe they think if they get Harry Kane, that everyone will select Harry Kane, being that he's maybe the England captain. I don't know. Also, another former Spurs player, Gareth Bale, has been given the number 18 shirt at Real Madrid after his number 11 remained in possession of Asensio, who initially took it after Bale moves to Spurs on loan. So that's interesting. He's got a squad number. I mean, Gareth Bale, who'd think it? He certainly wasn't going back under Zinedine Zidane, was he? But Carlo Ancelotti, a little bit more sympathetic to somebody like Gareth Bale, and I think he probably feels he can get at least another good season out of him. And quite frankly, they need to at that club. You know, they've got a lot of aging players there, but if they can get the best out of some of them, they've got half a chance. Villarreal accepted a 40 million offer, according to the Daily Express, from Tottenham for Torres, but reports in Spain say the player rejected the chance to move to the Premier League. Got to be honest with you, even though I'm a Spurs fan, I can kind of see that. I mean, you know, Villarreal, they look decent. They look like they're going places. They look like they've got a bit of a project going on at the moment. So, you know, why would you kind of want a team that we're playing in the Emmerdale Farm Cup, this flipping conference thing at the moment? You know, I can kind of have some agreement there with him why he would want to come to us at the moment. Crystal Palace are one of the Premier League clubs interested in taking Manchester United winger Diallo on loan. Well, they brought him in like from I think Atlanta like last year. He come with some big reputation, so that would probably be a good move for Mr. Patrick Vieira. I'm very interested to see what Crystal Palace do as well this season under Vieira. Kind of interested to see what his approach is as a manager. Obviously, he managed in the MLS, but I've not really known too much about his tactics and stuff like that. So I'm kind of interested in that one. And Manchester United are unlikely to move for any more players. Yeah, Solskjaer saying he's seemingly happy with the squad. And yeah, I mean, Man United have done some good business. Obviously, Varane, I think, Sancho, good deals. I wouldn't kind of totally throw it away that they're not going to try and sign maybe one player if they could get away with it, but we'll see. Also, the Daily Telegraph reporting that Danny Ings says there is no reason why his new club Aston Villa should not be fighting for a place in Europe this season. I kind of agree with him as well. I mean, got to be honest, Jack Grealish has gone, their best player, but they've done some good recruiting. They really have. They've done some good stuff, and I'm fascinated to see where they go this season. Obviously, you know, they're in that level now where I think you could say sort of top 10 to 8 is a very good season for them. Anything above that is exceptional in my opinion. So yeah, good times for them going on right now, and again, good recruitment going on. That's what I say a lot of. Okay, let's go back to the transfers and just having a quick browse through if anything else has come up as I've been speaking. Because, like I say, this stuff I come off yesterday of doing one of these lives, and then about 4 or 5 stories in just half an hour are available, and I was like, bloody hell. Just having a look here, we've got all the stuff around. Apparently, Liverpool defender Ben Davies is set to join Sheffield United on loan. Heard about that earlier. And obviously, Joe Willock, obviously at his new club, Arsenal. Is that a good deal for them, do you think? I mean, I'm throwing it out there. Joe Willock, quite a bit of money. Obviously, looking at last night's game, Arsenal could have done with someone like Joe Willock, to be honest with you. I think getting in the box a bit, especially for all those crosses and all the goals I've seen Joe Willock score at Newcastle have been from that sort of things, that sort of creative. So it's kind of surprising that they've just thrown him out kind of thing already. Anyway, let's move on to some more stuff then. Obviously, just a quick reminder, powered4.tv. Yes, we are a wrestling streaming platform normally, but obviously we do YouTube shows on MMA, boxing, obviously wrestling and other sports. And one of those sports is football. I'm going to be dropping these videos every day over the whole season as much as I can. I have to say, as much as I can. Might vary in times and stuff like that, but I will do my damnedest to come on here, to interact, to talk about what's going on over the season. And I'll probably do a kind of special transfer window deadline. I'll probably have a couple of guests on with me as well for that one. So yeah, let's move on then to obviously today's games. I suppose there's, like I say, it's nice to see 3 p.m. games back again, and I know that's going to sound odd to a few people because we've been happy with so many games being on television and all the rest of it. But like I said earlier, I'm at the stage now where I'm happy that games are taking place all at once and we're going back into the routine. But the early kickoff today sees Manchester United up against Leeds. Nice to see there'll be fans in the stadium, because when it was the game last season, there was nobody there, and I kind of feel like Leeds coming back into the Premier League, that's one of the big fixtures that you'd look forward to as a fan, and the atmosphere and the old rivalry and everything. 12:30 today, big game. I mean, I think I'd say Man United for me get a win there. Although I am expecting a very good season again from one of my personal favourite managers, which is Marcelo Bielsa. I think the guy's phenomenal. I think he's. I just love the idea that he really stands by his philosophy regardless. He doesn't care about what anybody else thinks. And where they finished last season was very, very strong considering the style of football. I also just want to mention, because everybody's been comparing Leeds and Brentford, especially after last night, like, oh, they're the new Leeds. And as I said, they are a little bit different. But what is very different is I remember 15, 20 years ago. And I think Carragher and Neville spoke about this a little bit after the game as well. And the fact that when you used to get teams come up doing yo-yos, you used to have Barnsley, Charlton, Birmingham go up and down all the time. When they used to come up, they basically just used to play for long balls, really direct football. They never come up with this kind of like, okay, we're going to high press, we're going to play attractive football out from the back. They never did that back then. Now, style of football has changed, let's be honest. If you go and watch Premier League years on Sky, only like in the 90s, it's a completely different ball game. We weren't doing this whole let's play out from the back stuff, and it's kind of like a gentleman's agreement that we have to do that now. But at the time it was very different. However, I wasn't seeing clubs come up and like basically just go for some of these heavy teams like Arsenal and Man United and play their philosophy that they've come up with. They were always very I don't know what the word is. I suppose they were very much, rigid and, always thought about doing things a certain way to get over the line, rather than, Neil Redfern, for instance. I picked this guy up. If nobody's ever heard of him, he's an old player. He played for Barnsley. He played for Charlton and Bradford City, and all clubs went down one after another. But he continued getting re-signed for the clubs that moved up. And that's what used to happen. They used to recycle a lot of these players because back then finances were a little bit more difficult. But like someone was saying last night, Brentford players, not many of these Premier League players have played against them. So it's a whole different thing here. Other games today, we've got Burnley up against Brighton. Obviously, it's one of the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Burnley, Sean Dyche, say what you want. The guy, for me, he should be given a freaking medal. Like, I just think what he's got there, what he's got to use, he does some great stuff with. Brighton, obviously, they didn't have the best of seasons last season, but you could argue the same for Burnley, but I personally think, there's only so many places. You can't all be in that top 8. You can't all be in the, sort of 12 to 8th range all the time, because there's so much money being invested by sort of teams like that you wouldn't normally expect. Like we spoke about Aston Villa, they're pushing themselves on. Wolves are pushing themselves on. Leicester especially are already there. I'd say they're just breaking through. West Ham. So it's going to be hard for these two clubs. I'll go for a Burnley home win, but not too sure if I'm completely honest with you. It could go either way. Chelsea at home against Crystal Palace. Made mention of these earlier with Patrick Vieira coming in. Chelsea obviously recently signing Romelu Lukaku. He will not play, as I'm aware, so I don't think he was registered or fit or whatever, but he will play next week against Arsenal, so I bet they're looking forward to that. Again, Chelsea, a lot of people saying that they could be like the title contenders with Manchester City. They're saying a two-horse race. I don't think it will be as straightforward as that. I know people are seeing Lukaku, and yes, I think he is a fantastic signer. I do think he'll score goals, but I also think there was underlying issues with Chelsea, even spreading on from Lampard to Tuchel, that I don't think he's quite addressed defensively. So I don't think that, I know everybody is really saying that they're the team, they're the Champions League winners, they seem to win trophies. Whatever you think about Roman Abramovich and sacking managers willy-nilly, their trophies are pretty decent. So it's a decent thing for me. I'm not sure they're going to be there. I still think I'm going to say it's going to be. I'd like to see a four-horse race up to a certain point. I think it could be, but will Chelsea be one of them? I'm sure they're going to be in and around it. I just don't know if they're going to come that close. But I could be totally wrong, and they could obviously have a fantastic season. So what do I know? But Crystal Palace, very looking forward to seeing what they come up with this season. Like I said. Looking at Vieira as a new manager, very, very interested to see what he does. Furthermore, we've got Leicester City at home up against Wolves. Brendan Rodgers, obviously, there was speculation. Would he stay, and would Tottenham be interested in him when Jose left and all this? Of course, he's not going. He's got a wonderful setup at Leicester at the moment. They don't spend crazy money. I'm sure he's very jealous sometimes when he sees even Aston Villa doing business over what he's doing. But what they do have is a very decent set 11. They've just bought Vestergaard in as well. 15 million. I think that's a steal. I think that's pretty good for them. And I know people say, oh, he's slow. He's not quick or anything like that. But like I said, they had, when they won the league, they had Robert Hove and Wes Morgan at the back. Those two weren't exactly speed. So I think they like to have somebody in the air that can win the balls, get up for corners and stuff like that. And I think it's a good signing. 15 million, I think it's pretty decent for a 28-year-old established defender like him in the Premier League. So good for them. I would say Wolves this season, lots of speculation, obviously, how they're going to do. Is the recruitment going to be on? Their recruitment has been insane, how they do theirs over the years. Really, really good. I think with Wolves, even though Nuno's gone, I still think they have, do you remember when Swansea were in the Premier League? And it didn't matter who managed Swansea for that time, everybody wanting to play the Swansea way, so nobody really changed it, and I think that's going to be the same with Wolves. I think sort of mid-table would be decent for them. Probably going to go for a Leicester home win myself. Watford at home against Aston Villa. It's going to be a difficult season for Watford, obviously, in the Premier League. Aston Villa, like I say, they've lost their best player. And normally when you lose your best player, you say, we're in trouble. But not in this case. I think Aston Villa have done some very good deals. We did hear reports that they were perhaps going after James Ward-Prowse, but that was quickly played down by the Southampton manager. He says he's going nowhere and they're not interested in selling their captain. So that one is probably off the table. But had they have got him as well, I mean, that would be a massive coup for them. But I'm expecting big things from Villa, not to the point where I think they're going to break in the Champions League or anything like that, but certainly they could definitely make a push for that top 7, top 6 positions. So we'll see there. And the later the afternoon game this evening is 5:30. Norwich City, back in the Premier League, of course, up against Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp, he's been all positive as usual. Everything is great, as he always says, and he's looking forward to the new season. I love that guy's energy. He's fantastic. up against Norwich. Norwich obviously been a little bit of a yo-yo club themselves in the last few years. They're obviously looking to try and sustain something here in the Premier League. I don't know. The quality, is it good enough? You know, they've lost players as well. Oliver Skipp, who's back at Spurs, was quite a big thing with them last year. And I kind of feel like, you know, had they have maybe gone, right, we'll try and sign somebody like a Skipp or Skipp himself, maybe. I don't know. Obviously, Spurs have high hopes for Skipp, don't get me wrong. But had they have made their intentions quite clear early on, they might have got that deal. But I do feel like they need more players like it. I do think they might struggle again, though, this season. I really do. I hope they don't, but I just got a feeling they're going to struggle. Liverpool, it's all about, I mean, last season they lost so many games at home. Was it because the fans weren't there and all the rest of it? Who knows? But they managed to get themselves in the freaking Champions League. So that just goes to show how crazy the season was last year. Liverpool, I think, are going to come still as close to Manchester City, in my opinion, even though they haven't done the deals. And everybody will go, you know, why didn't they sign? I saw somebody saying, why didn't they sign Lukaku? Lukaku would not work in Liverpool. He would absolutely not work at Liverpool. Pretty much how he wouldn't work at Man United, and he didn't really. Because they're not after a Lukaku. Lukaku is like strong, holds the ball up. He wants to do. He's his own thing. Chelsea like players like that. They've had Drogba, they've had Diego Costa. They kind of play to that strength. But with Liverpool, Roberto Firmino, basically he makes space for the wingers. He basically drags defenders all over the show, left, right, coming deep. And it means Salah and Mane or Jota can just basically overlap and get in there for the goal. So I don't think they're looking for an out-and-out striker like a Lukaku. They certainly wouldn't be paying that kind of money, because in Liverpool's system, the biggest and sort of the most players that they play towards strength would be Salah and Mane on those wings. So I think more likely that you'll see him go for another one of those or a central midfield player. But yeah, he's got another defender in. That's all he was kind of worried about. Virgil van Dijk is back. He's signed another deal. So they're going to be expecting to sort of like pick up almost from 2 years ago, even though they didn't end up being totally terrible last season in the end, because they got it back. So Norwich up against Liverpool. Sorry, Norwich. I've got to say Liverpool, really, for this one, for the win. I'd be very shocked if they didn't. And yeah, that concludes for today's games. Now, we'll be back tomorrow, probably the same sort of time, 10:30 in the morning. Join me then. Obviously, big build-up. Tottenham, Manchester City, it'll be crazy, as you can imagine. I can only imagine what the Sky cameras will be doing during the game. If Harry Kane is not, like, even if Harry Kane isn't playing or he's not on the bench, he'll no doubt be there. And all they'll do is keep cutting back to Harry Kane looking there, like, and Harry Kane will have to have his poker face on, like, especially if Manchester City score. They'll cut to Harry Kane. I guarantee it. So he's going to have to be very careful, isn't he? But yeah, does he play? Does he not? Let me know in the comments below. I'll pick them up again tomorrow and I'll talk about it. I'm very, very interested to know what people think, because it's a difficult decision. I feel for Nuno in all this, because he's probably the last person at the moment that gets that sort of choice as to what to do. I think Daniel Levy holds the cards, in all honesty. But I want to thank anybody that has come along, checked out the video. Please give a like, give a subscribe. I really, really appreciate it. I will do my best. Like I say, this isn't going to be the most formal show that you come and watch, and as all the great stuff. Again, it's normally me just babbling on. But I enjoy football. I love football. I'm very passionate about what I do. So if you can give a like, give a subscribe, I'll be very, very appreciative. Share the video as well. Does a lot for us here. Don't forget, powered4.tv is a wrestling on-demand streaming service. Over 30 promotions, 400 hours. Go check it out. I'll give you a code as well. Use the code SP3 and you'll get 50% off your first month. So that's SP3. Just put it in the promotional code. Like I say, even if you're not like a wrestling fan today, but you was back in the 90s or you grew up with it or whatever, go check it out. There's some great stuff on there. It's more for the adults as well for TNT Extreme Wrestling. So check it out. You might just fall back in love with it. Who knows? But yeah, thank you as always for checking the video out. And I'll be back tomorrow for 10:30. Until then, I've been John Scott and you've been watching 1-2 Football here on powered4.tv.